Ladies and gentlemen, it is once more time to go back over the greats. Moby Dick, The Art of War. Shakespearean plays. They are all great works of writing and, of course, storytelling. But none can quite match up to the epic that is Storytime with NovaWar, featuring Microsoft Paint. Today, we're actually on stream doing storytime and doing retellings of my some of my more popular stories in an effort to raise some money. For those of you watching this on YouTube, you know, a long time from now, you don't need to worry about this. By the time this is up on YouTube, this whole thing would have been over, but we're raising money for the ability to buy a really nice laptop for a family in need that I know personally and that NovaMum brought to my attention. And so one of the things that people were hoping to see was a story time. So here we are doing story time. The first story that we are going to conquer today is, in fact, my favorite story to tell. And it's my favorite story to tell because it's almost too crazy to believe. Like, too much happens in a short period of time that this... You hear it, you think, this can't be right. This has to be a bad storyline for a Disney movie, but no. It's all fact. It's all fact. And it happened to yours truly. We're about to go back in time and tell the tale of the trip from hell. Many years ago now, when I was a wee lad, and by a wee lad I mean still incredibly large for my age because genetics, I was in grade 9, and at my junior high, once you graduated, it was towards the end of your grade 9, you were getting ready to go into high school, there was a grade 9 trip. The English section of the class, so the people who weren't in French immersion, went on one trip, and the French immersion class went on a separate trip. Obviously, they went to places that speak French. Our section was given the opportunity to go on a trip, on a bus trip specifically, and tour the Atlantic provinces. So we'd go through Cape Breton here in Nova Scotia, and then go to Newfoundland, and cut back down, go to Prince Edward Island, so on and so forth. We didn't, from what I remember anyway, go into New Brunswick, but we went through that area and then looped back around to Halifax. That was our trip. The French Immersion Corps, they got to go to Montreal and have a blasty blast there and go shopping and everything else. That was their treat. So we all kind of were talking about our individual trips. The English class was kind of like, you know, not overly excited about their trip. Because, I mean, it's the Atlantic provinces. Everybody else is, the French class gets to go to Montreal and on a plane, first of all, instead of on a bus, and go shopping and hang out in this city. And that sounds awesome. We're going to go on a trip around the Atlantic provinces, which isn't exactly thrilling, and so we were a little bit perturbed, but nevertheless, we were going to take the opportunity because it was time for many kids of that age to experience going on a trip by themselves, away from their parents, with their friends, and so everybody was really excited about this. So for myself, there's one other trip that happens before you hit high school, and then all trips go away because everybody's too old, and everybody's a hipster. Nobody wants to go on trips anyway. But there's a class trip for grade 6 as well. I didn't end up going on that. I was like I had a lot of I was a very anxious kid when I was younger. And it had mostly gotten out of my system by the time I'd hit grade 9, but I was definitely still had some of that in me. And the thought of going on this it was like a 9-day trip. On the thought of going on this like 9-day trip, with nobody but friends and some teachers, kind of still bugged me a bit. But I said to myself, you need to step your game up. You need to go and have a blasty blast and experience all that is being the hell away from your parents. So I talked myself into it. Took a while, but I talked myself into it. And so the days leading up to it, I was a little nervous, but hey, I thought to myself, you're with your teachers. They're all good people. You like them. What could possibly go wrong? I would later learn that was one of the most naive thoughts that I could have possibly had in my entire childhood and possibly my entire life. So the day comes. The first day of the trip. We're leaving the schoolyard. We're in the school, the front lot of the school, the parking lot. I'll start using some of my famous Microsoft Paint skills here. So here's the school, roughly, and it's just one bus. So here's the bus. And the parking lot is over here. And all the parents are over here, and they're all kind of saying goodbye to their children, and they're all hugging and bye mom, bye dad, oh my goodness, I'm gonna miss you so much. But there's like the different versions of this was one of also the first times you saw the relationship between the parents and the kids. Is when you saw this departure. Some of the kids were like, "F you, I'm gonna get on the bus already." So they were already on this bus, and they were in their seats, and they were kind of like saying goodbye to their parents from the windows. They're in the bus and they're kind of like waving at their parents. The parents are the ones standing closer to the bus, of course, because they're like, why can't I have this nice relationship with my children like these fine folks over here? These guys know where it's at. Like, why is my kid gonna be an asshole? So anyway, they're all over there. I'm one of these kids over here where I'm close to my parents. I'm saying goodbye, and they're saying, "Oh, have fun, sweetie. You're gonna have a good time." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And I decide after I do that to just get on the bus and get it over with. So I step onto the bus, and I'm sitting on the window side here because I'm just watching everybody else get ready. We're loading on, baggage and stuff onto the bus. Everybody's still saying their goodbyes. and we're just about getting ready to go. But at one, just towards the end, and we're just about to pull out. We're starting to the driveway or the exit is over here somewhere. Well, that's a circle. But you get the idea. It's over. It's in that general area. Like we've got to go over here to get out of the parking lot. And we had pulled the bus down, and we had kind of gotten about halfway, and there was this one guy who needed to say the final goodbye to Mommy and Daddy. Just this one kid. So what does he do? What does he do? Besides, well, I gotta open this window. And on these tour buses, you know, the windows aren't the ones that go up and down like a school bus. They go out, and they kind of hinge out. So he opens the window, and he gets the window open, and he goes, "Bye, guys, bye, bye." But he's having trouble getting the window to open all the way, so he gets kind of forceful with it, and everybody else is watching this happen and going, and his name was Raymond. Raymond, stop. Raymond, no, Raymond, no. And the bus driver in the front is looking back in the mirror going, what is this kid trying to do right now? What the fuck is he? You could see him squinting in the rear view mirror, just kind of going, no, what do you, no. And what happens? He finally gets the window open. He says goodbye to Mommy and Daddy. And the bus gets all the way, you know, over here somewhere. The bus gets all the way over here. You know, we had traveled, we had turned around, we'd gone down here, and it stops right here, still in the parking lot. Because little Raymond, well, he broke the window. The window wouldn't close. It was permanently stuck open. He had broken the hinges on it in an effort to open the window because, as it turns out, he wasn't smart enough to undo the lock on both sides. So, we had a bus with a permanently open window. And everybody is going, Raymond, you stupid I mean, seriously, for the first thing, the parents are there, right? So the teachers are trying to reprimand. The parents can still see the bus, and the bus is stopped, and the parents are kind of confused. They're standing there going, "What the hell's going on? Why is my child still in the parking lot? Why aren't they gone?" But the teachers can't like lose their shit like they would necessarily in class because the parents are right there. We haven't even left the parking lot yet, so everybody's just like, oh, Raymond, why did you have to do that? Why? Why did you have to do? Why couldn't you just wave like everybody else? Why couldn't you just wave normally, just behind the window? Why'd you have to open the window, Raymond? Why'd you have to do that? And so what has to happen? Well, we have to obviously change buses. Because you're not about to go on a 9-day bus trip with a permanently stuck open window. That's just asking for trouble. Not that would have made much difference anyway. So, we hadn't even left the parking lot and we were already having issues. The window is now broken. We must go change buses. So the bus terminal is over in Dartmouth, which is like a 20-minute drive from our bus. Or our school, sorry. So, we start on our way. And we're driving, and the whole time we're driving, Raymond's obviously very quiet. The teachers are up front, kind of grumbling to themselves. The bus driver looks like he already wants to take a small child's life. But the rest of us are kind of just like, whatever. We're going to get on this next bus, and it's going to be great, and we're going to be on our way, and it is what it is, and, we're all just happy to be on this bus and starting on our journey. So we get to the bus terminal. Big, huge complex, lots of buses and stuff. So here's the complex over here, and then they've got rows upon rows of buses. right? And our bus pulls in, and we pull up and we park, and the bus driver stands up. You know, they're talking to the teachers. He says, "All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna have to go in here, and I'm gonna see what other buses are available for you guys. And we're gonna have to take all the luggage off. We're gonna have to transfer everybody into another bus, and then we'll be on our way." She said, "Okay. And how long do you think that's gonna take?" The bus driver said, "Oh, it shouldn't take more than about 15-20 minutes." I said, "Okay." So everybody just has to sit on the bus while we wait for the first bus to pull up. So he gets the first bus. So we're like back in, let's say, we were like this bus here. Okay? And the first bus that we changed into and started moving all of our stuff was this bus up here. So we get out and we're helping, the teachers and the bus driver move our stuff and whatnot, and we're putting it into this next bus, and we finally get everything loaded up. And then the bus driver says to the teachers, "Oh, by the way, this bus doesn't have the up-front fold-out table that the first bus had. The teachers were hoping for a bus that had, 1, a bathroom, and 2, a fold-out table so that they could correct homework while we're on this trip. Because, yes, we had homework. The Frenchies didn't, but we did. And they wanted to be able to correct that. So, at the very end, he said, "Yeah, we don't have a table in this one. But I think that one of the chairs can come out and we can put a table in, and it will just take an extra, 15 minutes. And the teacher said, "Sure, yeah, we'd love to have the table. Absolutely. Let's get that done." So he goes in, and he starts taking this chair out, and everybody's just kind of standing around outside. We're not allowed on the bus yet. We're just kind of standing around, kind of out here. Just we're apparently like all shapes and sizes, because we are, And here's my teacher Dunbar, because he was enormous, and my other teachers. So we're all just kind of like standing around outside and waiting for this bus driver to, or this mechanic to take this chair. So he finally gets the chair out, and he looks down at the floor, and there's no connectors for a chair. And so he kind of silently, he was like, to himself. He comes outside and he says to my teacher, he says, "Guys, I'm really sorry, but this does not have that table. We don't even have a connector for it on the floor." And so the teachers say, "Well, does another bus have what we're looking for?" And the guy said, "Well, I will check." And so he goes and looks, and we end up with this bus. Okay? So what happens? We all move down. And now we're all standing outside of this bus. And we've just moved all of our luggage, and it's been we've been at this terminal now for about an hour and a half, and we're all just, because every time he says 15 minutes, it takes more like a half hour. So now we're standing outside this bus, and we're saying to ourselves, "Okay, this is starting to get a bit ridiculous, but whatever, we'll go along with it. What could possibly, what else? Just get on this bus and let's leave." So we get all of our luggage into this bus. And at around this time, I started noticing that I really needed to use the washroom. And I don't mean like, take a piss. I mean, I needed to destroy a bathroom and then have nobody ever be able to use that bathroom again. That's the kind of situation I was starting to get in. It was getting there. It wasn't there yet, and I was like, all right, I'll just hold on to this, and then I'm just gonna have to destroy the bathroom bus or whatever, and it's gonna be fine. So we get all this stuff onto the bus, and the guy gets on, and we had the desk and everything, and we get ready to go, and they're doing a final inspection on this bus. What happens? We have a table, but the bathroom's broken. Now, at this point, we've been here for like 2 hours. Going on 3, really, at this point. And the teachers were starting to get a little perturbed. Just a little bit. A little irritated. And the kids were also starting to go, "Really? Come on. Is there no way that we could just, find all these things out before we move everything onto these buses? Apparently not. Apparently not. That would be too much to ask for. So he says, all right, guys, we're gonna have to move into another bus. Obviously, we can't go on a 9-day trip without a bathroom. That's just a bad time. So we get on to the next bus. It was like this one. So we all move our stuff over to this bus. And we're all standing outside of this bus. And we got our stuff onto there, and, this one, there was no other buses in the fleet that had a table, but this one had a working washroom. So the teacher said, you know what, guys? We'll just take this bus. We're just gonna take it. We need to get going. We're already, like, way behind schedule. Now we're definitely at about the 3-hour mark. It's just taking forever. But they had to take, this bus had just come back in, and they needed to clean it. They needed to actually clean it out. It hadn't been put to, like, every time they finish using a bus, they have to, somebody has to come in and get rid of all the stuff in the bus and clean it. So they said that's going to be like another half hour. And at this point, I was ready to explode. I mean, I was just like sitting there. I was like feverishly looking around. I was getting the sweats. I was looking around like, for God's sake, where am I going to go? I saw the problem was there was, it was so annoying and really torturous is that we were, at this terminal, the only thing I could see over here, see over here was like a friggin' Tim Hortons. Off in the distance. The Tim Hortons over here. I know the scale was messed up, but the problem was, in between us and the Tim Hortons was a 2-lane highway with a divider, or a 4-lane highway with a divider down the middle. And no way to cross. Anywhere. And I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. I need a washroom badly. And so at this point I was like, alright, I need to tell somebody about this. So I go to my teacher, Mr. Dunbar, who was one of the greatest teachers I've ever had. In fact, the 3 teachers that were on this trip with us were some of the best teachers I ever had, and 2 of them in particular I still am friends with today. But so that was Mr. Dunbar and Mr. Minicello. Mr. Dunbar is a big guy. Very big guy. He's probably about 6'2", and he doesn't go to the gym often. He's a big, huge teddy bear type dude. But he can be terrifying. But I was good friends with him. I went up to him, I said, Mr. Dunbar, I said, we've got a problem. He said, alright, what? What's wrong? And I was actually kind of nervous to tell him this, because he was already, like, really, really strung out. In fact, out of the 3 teachers, Minicello and himself were smokers. Miss Amaral was not. She was, at the current time, smoking with them. They had actually... I'm going to end up cutting off part of them, but they were actually, like, over here. Talking amongst themselves and smoking. She had never smoked before that day. She started smoking today. She was already strung out as all hell. And everybody else was like, we're kids, we're kind of like oblivious to the fact that all this is going on. But I walk up to him and I say, Mr. Dunbar, look, man, I really need to use the washroom, and it's not a number one. It is a nuclear holocaust of bad times, and it needs to happen not now, but probably yesterday. This needs to happen. And he said, all right, we got a couple of options. There's a washroom, apparently, like, in this building, like, over here somewhere. So you can use that, or you can wait until we get on the bus or whatever else. So anyway, I go down, and I end up in this washroom, and I walk in the front door, and it's a weird freaking washroom. It's dirty as hell. And there is actually one of the highlights of my day, though. I walk into this washroom and there's like a Playboy magazine on top of the toilet there, and I was just like, what weird dimension am I in right now? I don't you know, I appreciate that that's there, but that tells me that I don't actually really want to use this washroom right now, because this is like the Fat Dome for every bus driver in Halifax, and I don't feel like being in the Fat Dome for any extended period of time. But I kind of did my business, and I went back outside, and they were still cleaning the bus, and the bus was going to be like another 45 minutes. And then they said, we have to empty the tank on the bus for the washroom. We thought we were going to go? No. We're now about 4 hours in. 4 hours. We were supposed to already be in Cape Breton. We hadn't even left the bus terminal yet. The teachers were really starting to lose their minds. I was losing my shit, literally. They were losing their minds. All the kids were getting restless. And we were ready to go home, and we haven't even, left Halifax yet. And so I'm forced to kind of walk around, because at this point I'm getting kind of anxious or whatever. And I end up literally 20 minutes later, it's like, alright, round number 2, I need to take this next dump. And I go up to Dunbar and I'm like, look man, I can't go in there, it's the friggin' Fat Dome, you know, there's like a friggin' dirty ass magazine in there. I'm pretty sure that if I sit on that toilet, I'm gonna get some weird friggin' disease that only bus drivers that use the Fat Dome have. I don't want to go anywhere near it, so let's just... I can't do that. Can I go to this Tim Hortons? Can somebody take me over to this Tim Hortons? And he says, no, we can't do that, because obviously, you know, not even he can suddenly make a magical pathway across this highway with a divider. So he said, but at this point he was really upset, and he said, you know what, Adam? I've got a solution for you. Why don't you take yourself and walk over here? Up here, and walk into this bus. I said, okay. What then? I said, you're gonna step onto this bus. Make sure nobody sees you. You're going to then walk down the middle aisle of this bus. You're going to open up this door, and you are going to unleash the 7th circle of hell in that washroom. And I looked at him, because you have to keep in mind that this is my teacher and I'm only 14 years old, and I'm looking at him going, you know, I don't know if I'm supposed to take you seriously. So I asked him, am I supposed to take you seriously? And Mr. Dunbar took the cigarette out of his mouth, tossed it to the ground, stamped it out with his foot, blew out the rest of the smoke in his mouth, and said, you better believe it. So, you know, I thought to myself, well, I really don't have any other options. It's either this or the Fat Dome, and really, I'm kind of fed up with this whole bus situation. So I decided to just go ahead with it, and I was like, alright, sure. So I strolled over, and kind of like some weird bout of like, I don't know, Metal Gear Solid play. Everything but a box was used, and I got over there without anybody seeing me. I get onto the bus. I go into this washroom, and I literally, I shit you not, I blew this bus up 6 ways from Sunday. I mean, this looked like a war zone that nobody would wish on their worst of enemies. This whole bus was blown up. And you have to remember, this is one of the buses that didn't have an operating washroom. So I blew that up. It was all good. I was gripping the walls, just everything. Feet up against the wall in front of me, hands out to the side, bracing myself for impact. Bombs were going off, children died, young animals fled in terror in the woods miles away, for fear that they too might succumb to the death that was the shit that I just took in this washroom. And then I took, then I got off the bus. And I calmly, but stealthily, made my way back. And I reported to Mr. Dunbar. Right here. Stood in front of him and said, "Job is done." The job is done. He said, "Good work, my son." It actually didn't go down like that, but for theatrical purposes, we'll say that. In reality, I just kind of went over and I said, "Alright, I'm good." And he said, "Great." But it sounded better the other way. So it was done. Great success. Mission successful. I felt like $1,000,000 at this point. I was like, bring it on. Bring everything on. Bring the world on. Because now I am feeling like $1,000,000. So anyway, by the time that was done, we had another 15-minute wait. The bus had finally been cleaned. We had an operating washroom. They didn't have a desk, but the teachers didn't care. Amaral was now officially a smoker. I had blown up one of the buses. I had already been to the Fap Dome. I never want to go back to the Fap Dome again. Nobody should ever enter the Fap Dome. Fucking Fap Dome. Got onto the bus, and finally started to get on our journey to Cape Breton. It was at this point that the parents back home were imagining that we had already gotten to Cape Breton at the hotel, and that we would have been eating lunch. But no. We were still just leaving the bus terminal 15-20 minutes from our school. So we get on the road, and everybody's kind of happy, and nothing overly eventful happens between the bus terminal and Cape Breton. We get up to Cape Breton, and we're obviously very late. They had told them the place that we'd been there for lunch. They had been set up for lunch. We obviously didn't show up for lunch. So the teachers had to go off and like kiss some ass or do whatever they had to do to get this dinner service ready so that we could have some food. And so they get that done. And so now we're at the hotel. Let me draw this layout for you. So essentially, this hotel, the dining room was relatively large, and it was on the outside edge of the hotel, out here. And then outside of that, they had like their little front hall area here. And they had all the rest of this were like rooms. And we're in the dining room over here. There's a hallway down the center here. Going down. And then all off on the sides here are like rooms. So on and so forth. So we're in the dining hall, and we're enjoying ourselves, and there's two sections of the dining hall here. There's like a front and a back section. There's a nice little wall here. And there's tables set up. You know, just in literally, you know, you'd think that I'm just like making this up, but they literally just had, except for up here, like in the back room, they were just all over the place. Even up here, it was kind of all over the place. And we filled up most of these tables with at least a couple, you know, 3 people per table. I think in total we probably had about 40 kids. And so we're sitting there, and we're all hungry as hell, right? Like, we have just gone through a mess. We didn't want any more to do with that bus for a while. We wanted to be off the bus. We wanted to just relax and call home and tell our parents about all the trials and tribulations, because, you know, that's what you want to do. So we're all sitting here waiting for our dinner. The teachers are off in one of these rooms over here, you know, talking them up, getting them, you know, trying to get them to make us our dinner and whatnot. And they come out and they finally tell us we've got 2 options for dinner. We can either have lasagna, or we can have, I think it was either fish and chips or a club sandwich. I can't remember now what the second option is, and you'll know why I remember the lasagna shortly. I was sitting all the way over here. Okay, this wall is a bit askew. Across here, I could see one of my best friends in the whole wide world. People, and you've probably, if you've been on my stream long enough, at least heard about him. Ryan, not to be confused with Brian, but Ryan, who is sitting all the way over there. And we were with different people and whatnot. We were just, all having our discussions and talking about stuff. And so I went with like the fish and chips or the sandwich or something. I went with whatever wasn't the lasagna. And a lot of people went with the lasagna, actually. Ryan was one of them. And at these tables, it was a really cheap, like a wooden fold-out table with like a white tablecloth put over top of it, and in the middle of the table they had like a basket of creamers for your coffee. Those little packages that you can take the tops off and put into your coffee. Obviously, at 14 years old, not a lot of us were drinking coffee. They were there, and while we were waiting for our dinner to arrive, and we're all talking. Somebody had tossed a creamer. Just one. Just tossed a creamer. It wasn't open yet. We just tossed one to throw it at somebody. And right after that had happened, the teachers had come in, and we're standing, like around here. And so everybody stopped doing what they were doing. Just kind of, the person who threw it was like, okay, all right, sorry, okay, no more. The person that got hit was obviously like, oh no, it's on. It is on like Donkey Kong. No, they didn't toss it at Raymond, believe it or not. No, they didn't toss it at Raymond. Raymond was off in his own little world. I think Raymond was actually over here by himself because, everybody still wanted to kill him. So, I should get rid of that because he's unimportant right now. The food comes out and everybody starts eating, and the food was okay. And by okay, I mean it was cold as shit and wasn't actually all that great. And I was watching other people eat the lasagna, and it was like the top layer. It was kind of like recooked lasagna, or they had it cooked and it was sat there for a long time. It was probably from the lunch service that was supposed to be for us, that somehow was now dinner service and had been sitting around forever. And so the top layer of the lasagna was like super dry and super crusty. Just super friggin' dry. And so people were like taking the top layer off, and you didn't even bother trying to eat that because it ends up being like shoe leather. You can't get that through, through that. But Ryan was a champion, and he wanted all the food on his plate, so he was trying to eat this lasagna, and I'm eating away, and everybody's talking. But suddenly I hear this the sound of what sounds to be like a cat hacking up a hairball. It's going, you hear that from across the room. And I'm going, what the hell? I'm looking at people, what the hell is that? And suddenly I look across. I see Ryan, arched back and all, like, choking. And I was like, oh my god. Ryan's actually choking on something. Holy shit. What do I do? And as soon as I start, like, trying to figure out what I want to do, if I want to run across the room and, like, at 14 years old, try and pull out the fucking Heimlich maneuver, or if I'm trying to get a teacher or something. The teachers weren't in the room at the time. They were off eating, away from the kids because they wanted to just get the hell away from us. The person wanted revenge with that creamer. They didn't throw a closed, they threw an open creamer, and they threw that shit, like, across the room. They were, like, over here and was like... And, of course, that person was like, oh, hell no, and was like... and missed and hit somebody over here, and they were like, well, son of a bitch. And eventually, this whole side was just Creamerville. I mean, just cream everywhere. Almost like my shit, because that's how good my drawing skills are. There was cream in just about every corner of this entire plate. There were cups flying everywhere, and at this time, I'm sitting here at the table, I'm going, oh my god, I'm still watching through the streams of cream flying everywhere. I'm watching Ryan, like, throw up on the floor, just kind of... just... He's like fucking projectile vomiting, lasagna on the floor, the creamers are flying everywhere, Raymond's still in the corner derping with himself, and then suddenly the teachers walk into the room and everybody stops. Except for Ryan, he was still kind of just like blowing up this corner of the room. He didn't stop. There was no stopping Ryan. Ryan was on the train to pain. He was hacking up every last ounce of lasagna he had because it was still stuck in his throat and he was just like triggering his gag reflex. So Ryan's just over there still going, the rest of the room is silent. And I'm like I'm diverted, I'm dividing my attention between looking at the teachers and looking at Ryan and trying to find out if he's still okay because he's just still over there just going at it. And so the teachers, Dunbar specifically, who everybody was more afraid of than anything, the teachers, 3 of them are all there. I know 2 circles are representing them, but there was 3 of them there. And they're standing there, and they kind of have this look of, it was in between pure rage, disbelief, and a look of, I just want to go home now. And we haven't even really started this trip. And I remember distinctly, Miss Amaral, went and checked on Ryan. Went up here. Let's probably not use the same color for that. She went up here and was like, alright, so in this whole mess of things, yes, this room is completely retarded right now, but we actually need to make sure this child is not going to die. So she goes up and checks on Ryan. Dunbar and Minicello, however, they don't have to worry about such things because it's being handled. So they use all their energy at screaming at us. And Dunbar just sour as all hell screams, "Everybody, get to your rooms now!" And everybody promptly, whether they were done their dinner or not, gets up and walks out of the dining room and goes to their rooms. I was like mortified, even though I wasn't involved with this like creamer incidents and stuff. I was just like, I don't want this to end up coming back at me in some weird way. I just whatever. And everybody sits there, and 15 minutes later, the teachers go door to door, and they get everybody into this side room. It was off of the dining room. It was kind of like a little conferencey, roomy thing. It was kind of up in here. And they sit everybody down. And basically, all I can remember, because I was so mortified, but also so like flabbergasted with the language that was coming out of my teacher's mouth, because we were away from school now, and they just went completely balls deep. They just were cursing and swearing. Just, if you guys pull any of this fucking shit again, I swear to God, you guys are never going to see the light of day. We are going to send you home right away. Your parents are going to have to come and get you. You're never going to be able to go on another trip again. You're going straight to hell. God doesn't love you, and you're an asshole. Like, everything you could possibly imagine just came out of this one thing, and it was 15 to 20 minutes of straight screaming. And it was only Dunbar. Just Dunbar. Just the one guy. The other 2 teachers just kind of let him have his moment, and he just went completely insane and just unloaded just everything, just every ounce of hatred and bad thing that he could come up with. Just made sure everybody realized that if we had pulled anything like that again over the next course of the while, it would be the end of us. We would be dead, and our parents would never know how we died. Like, we would disappear from the world as we know it, and we would never get home. And with that, everybody went to bed. So we go to bed, and we get up the next morning, and it's time to prepare, after breakfast, to go on a little bit of a trip. So we traveled around Nothing crazy. Just kind of, you know, seeing a little bit of the sights around the immediate area, because we had to get ready to go on our trip to get over to Newfoundland, and we were taking the ferry to Newfoundland.